The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, a Good Omens multi-voice podfic written by Waywarder and read by
SkyAsimaru
and Djapchan. Chapter 5, Zalophus Californianus. I really want to stop, but I just got the taste for it. I feel like I could fly with the boy on the moon. So honey, hold my hand. You like making me wait for it. I feel like I could die walking up to the room. Oh yeah. Crowley shoved his hands deeply into his pockets. Tough to do. His jeans, as you well know, were quite tight, as he turned and strolled away from the whale shark habitat. He shoved his hands deeply into his pockets to keep himself from smacking himself firmly across his own head.
What the fuck were you thinking? Asking him out at work? Kissing him? At work? You are being textbook creepy right now, you idiotic piece of...
Crowley shut his eyes tightly to try to drown out the angry but familiar voice.
No,
he muttered to himself, walking back into the bright lights of the atrium.
No, I told Aziraphale this was going well, and it is. He would tell me if something was wrong. He would tell me what he didn't like. Aziraphale is clever and thoughtful, and he would tell me the truth.
Crowley smiled at the thought. Aziraphale, if the fluttering of his lovely hands and the worried wobble of his blue eyes were any good indicators, was as nervous about this entire situation as he was.
What a pair of dorks.
Crowley confessed to no one, grin growing wider at the thought. Because that was part of it. Aziraphale didn't judge him for his questions, for his curiosity. Aziraphale was so excited to share everything he knew, and Crowley already felt he could listen to it for hours, for days maybe. Maybe they could be weirdos together, and wouldn't that be something? Another brilliant idea. He was having a lot of them today, and we should all be quite proud, floated across Crowley's mind, and he stalked off to his left with great determination. Aziraphale had to know this was going well. Crowley arrived at the entrance to the Sea Lion Theatre 10 minutes early, enjoying watching the funny little fellows in their pool swimming and jumping and spinning. He couldn't wait to hear what facts Aziraphale had to share about them.
Aren't they wonderful?
Crowley turned and smiled at the sight of Aziraphale approaching him. He had removed his name tag and drawn a knit sweater over his uniform shirt, and he looked terribly soft and cozy. And he wasn't working anymore. The date could begin proper.
These are California sea lions.
Aziraphale walked up to the window, peering into the pool.
Like TJ, these friends are all rescues from off the California coast.
What did they need to be rescued from?
Sadness washed over Aziraphale's face.
Oh, each animal has their own story, as I said. It's tough in the ocean for many creatures these days. Pollution and human interference, not to mention natural predators and the like.
I'm glad they have a home here, then,
Crowley said, turning again to watch the whiskered animals zip around their habitat.
I am too. It's an honor to be able to teach people about them. Perhaps the more we know, the better we can do for their counterparts out in the wild.
Hey, I got you something.
Crowley remembered, offering the object in his hand to Aziraphale.
Oh,
Aziraphale exclaimed, his face rapidly cycling from delight to something like disappointment and maybe even embarrassment.
It's cocoa.
Crowley suddenly felt the need to explain himself. Fuck, maybe this had been a dumb idea.
I thought you might like something warm at the end of your day.
oh, my dear, it's terribly thoughtful of you. Only...
Aziraphale nodded his head severely to the sign just behind Crowley. Crowley whirled around to look more closely at the entrance to the theatre.
Ah,
Crowley said, feeling supremely stupid.
No food or drink allowed inside the theatre.
Aziraphale read, his voice something reverent and tragic.
of course. Should have thought of that.
It's a terribly lovely gesture, only theatre etiquette is just so important, don't you think?
And the nervous hand-wringing and worried eyes returned.
It's no big deal. I can just, I don't know, throw it away, I guess.
Aziraphale gasped. He fucking gasped.
You will do no such thing. You took the time to procure that for me, and I'll be damned if I see your kindness go to waste.
And with that, Aziraphale reached forward, snatched the cocoa away, and lifted it almost defiantly to his lips.
It's probably still really hot.
Crowley cautioned, panicked and impressed by what it seemed like Aziraphale was about to do.
Perfect.
Aziraphale remarked calmly, before proceeding to down the entire paper cup of cocoa in one determined go. Crowley just stared, the depths of his feelings for this remarkable, entirely bizarre creature before him growing vaster by the second. Aziraphale swallowed one final swallow, brought the cup away from his lips, smacked them appreciatively, and smoothly walked away to deposit the cup in the nearest trash receptacle. He walked back to Crowley, looking rather shy and pleased. He reached between them and curled his fingers gently around still staring Crowley's own fingers.
Shall we see some sea lions, then?
Of course, was his reply. And so they wandered together into the Sea Lion Theatre.
So, what's a seal? And what's a sea lion?
Crowley asked as they took their seats in the small theatre. Aziraphale had been very insistent they sit right up front, but off to the left, as opposed to front and center.
Trust me,
He'd said, while sparkling. And Crowley did.
Will, I don't want to take too much away from the show, but I will go ahead and tell you at least one difference. Sea lions have external ear flaps.
He lifted his fingers to his own ears to demonstrate.
Whereas true seals do not.
And these ones are sea lions?
Crowley gestured to the pool before them.
Yes, we do have seals here, though, if you'd like to see them afterwards.
Aziraphale immediately turned away, as though he was asking too much, so Crowley reached across them to grab his hand. He squeezed it softly.
Aziraphale,
Crowley said, the name escaping slowly and carefully from his lips.
let me be clear. I intend to be here today until they drag me kicking and screaming from the gift shop. No need to worry about that bit, yeah?
Aziraphale looked down at their clasped hands, awe in his eyes.
I keep waiting for it to have all been a dream, gotten out of hand, you know?
Aziraphale said, quietly, still looking down. Crowley squeezed his hand again.
I don't know what all happens next, but I like you. I like you for telling me about dolphins and doing a short with me on Pride Night. I want to stay here all day so I can get to know you better. If you stop having fun, tell me and I'll split. But until then...
Crowley twisted his palm to thread their fingers together.
This is really happening.
Aziraphale looked back up at him, eyes shimmering with something serious.
Crowley,
Of course, the show began precisely that moment.
Hello, everyone!
Shouted the perky sea lion trainer as she strolled across the front of the pool.
Are you ready to see some sea lions?
Are any of us ever really ready to see some sea lions? Who can possibly be ready for that degree of joy after all? Crowley generally prided himself on being a pretty cool person, but damn if this sea lion presentation wasn't the cutest fucking thing he'd ever seen. He laughed out loud at all the corny Pinnipus puns. He awed appropriately when the juvenile sea lions started back and forth across the pool. He owed respectfully when the largest adult sea lion slipped out onto the stage before them.
Everyone, make some noise for Diego!
Aziraphale extracted his hand from Crowley's to applaud generously. Crowley looked at him and grinned, already planning their next 5 dates out in his head when...
Go, Diego!
The huge sea lion plunged expertly into the water and zoomed across the pool. Crowley definitely didn't know sea lions could get that big, and he was in the middle of mentally praising Diego for his impressive size when said lion broke the surface of the water right in front of where Aziraphale and Crowley were sitting. Salt water sloshed out of the pool around Diego and, well...
Ah!
Crowley yelped as surprisingly cold water splashed onto him. Beside him, Aziraphale, also soaked, laughed and clapped harder than ever.
Oh, I hope you don't mind. This is always my favourite part.
Is this why you picked these seats?
Crowley blinked salt water from his eyes.
Well, look.
Crowley turned back to the pool and fuck, wow. Because there was Diego, settled on his giant flippers against the window, looking majestically out over the crowd. Crowley knew it would probably get him kicked out immediately, but his fingers itched to reach out and pet Diego's handsome whiskers.
Diego?
The trainer walked over to the animal.
Say hello to everyone!
Diego let out the loudest noise Crowley thought he had ever heard. Something between a bark and a growl.
I wanted you to have the best seat in the house for his vocalizations.
Aziraphale explained, the absolute nerd.
I wanted you to have the best of anything. I thought ahead about what you might like. I considered you.
Tripping onto the bleachers of the theatre, Crowley's heart twisted a little in his chest. Beside him, Aziraphale was gazing happily at Diego, his blue eyes looking into Diego's brown ones. There was something so inherently gentle about him, about this fond, kind man who loved sea animals so much. Crowley felt a sudden pull in his guts to protect him, to manifest a world that welcomed and cherished his soft, beautiful soul.
"You absolute goner,"
whispered the voice in his head, but it wasn't angry this time. It was quiet and kind and sure. Not the tones his own had often offered him. Crowley promptly started planning their 6th date. Something with flowers and candles, probably. Yeah.
Ugh.
Crowley betrayed himself with a little shiver as he and Aziraphale exited the theatre and walked back into the cooler air of the atrium. Aziraphale frowned.
Oh dear.
"It's nothing."
Crowley waved his hand dismissively.
It's only that I hoped for us to visit the cold water animals next, you see.
He brought a hand up to his own face, considering, thinking, solving.
I've got it!
Aziraphale exclaimed, turning on his heel and beginning to walk back towards the staircase.
"Where are you going?"
Crowley called after him, not eager to be parted so soon during their actual date.
Back in a jiffy.
Aziraphale responded without turning back around. Fuck, he was so determined. When Aziraphale returned, he had changed from his soaked uniform shirt into a blue argyle jumper that made him look, somehow, even softer and warmer than before.
"What? Did you sneak into a phone booth and transform back into your mild-mannered ego?"
Crowley teased. Aziraphale swatted at his arm.
I went up to my locker, if you must know. I still had this lying around from our last company party.
He then held something black out to Crowley, a bit of an apology in his eyes.
It's a little silly, but I worried you'd simply drown in any of my things, so I stole this from the lost and found.
Crowley fanned out the long-sleeved shirt, only to discover a bright neon candy-colored design of a many-tentacled creature with sparkling words written across the chest. Don't be jelly. Crowley generally prided himself on being a pretty cool person.
"It's perfect."
He grinned at Aziraphale.
"I'll go change, shall I?"
And then penguins?
Aziraphale asked, hopefully, bringing his hands up to his heart.
"And then penguins."
Late night, watching television. But how'd we get in this position? It's way too soon. I know this isn't law, but I need to tell you something. To be continued in Chapter 6.